coding is a secure job. We were told at least.
What happened?
But with all these recent tools and the breakneck pace of the progress, will our job be reduced to someone who watches a code generator all day? Or is our job even one of the first ones to be replaced by current AI tools? If you have seen the tools like GitHub Copilot, ChatGPT, AutoGPT and all the craze on GitHub, you have also seen the meme that Copilot will soon become Pilot instead. This all might happen since no one can predict the future, at least no one yet. So what is it then? Is the hype real this time? Or are we seeing another Web3 tech bro fantasy? So in this video, I will give you my top 3 reasons why I am not concerned at all about my developer job, and you should not be either. Actually, I will give you a 4th reason why AI will never going to take your job. But this one is kinda scary and a bit speculative, so stick with me for that one. This video assumes that we talk about enterprise level software development, since that is the field where most developers live, and so do I. I will put links in the description for each topic, so you can read more about it if you're interested. What is the most valuable part of the software developer job? When you look at the media and the opinion of most non-technical people, it's the code we produce. But coding itself is neither the most interesting nor is it the most important part of any developer's job. It might be the most fun part of the job, but that is subjective and has no influence on the created value to the users. Therefore, coding is just a means to an end. Translating the business problems into a software solution is the actual value we bring to the table. But for this, you need to understand the business problem in the first place. You need to communicate with your team, juggle lots of different concepts and ideas around, and much more. So you could say the value is not in writing code, but knowing which code to write. But this is exactly what large language models cannot do. Sure, they can write code if you tell it which code to write, but as we just figured out, coding itself is the easy part of software development. Critics might say that the tools are not able to do this yet. That seems like a fair argument, and we will tackle this actually when we talk about reason number 3 in this video. Sure, there are also already examples of semi-autonomous agents with memory, Baby AGI, AutoGPT, Cataclysm, and way more. And they actually write and improve whole applications. But let's be honest here. Those are hand-picked examples and are also non-interesting applications to begin with. The point being, to write enterprise-level software, you need to understand the domain. There's no way around it. So to use the AI tools to any effect, you need to understand where you want to go with the code anyways. It's not like you can give this to any product owner or business person and they will code ahead with it. Therefore, at this level, we find no danger to our jobs. But there might be another danger lurking in the shadows. The tools in the current form will give us certainly inefficiency and therefore a productivity boost. And if so, there will naturally be a need for fewer developers, right? That sounds reasonable at the first glance, but actually, the opposite is way more likely to happen. Jevons' paradox states that the more efficient the use of any resource is, the more we humans are going to use it. It was first proven in the 19th century with the usage of coal in England. But I think the general principle applies here too. The world runs on code, and with improved productivity, we will write even more code. Logically, it follows that we need more developers to write all that code, even when they use AI tools. Because remember, the code is but an artifact, and the translation of domain concept into this code is the real value. Another interesting side note is that most of the companies have huge levels of inertia. This is especially true for large enterprises. They won't just fire all the developers and replace them with bots. And possible reasons might be ignorance or plain old resistance to change. And another major reason would be fear of accountability. Remember the debates about accidents with autonomous cars in the last decade? The same applies for developers too. Who would be accountable if all software was created by bots? Who would own the bugs and so on? Okay, but let's now tackle the argument that this is just the beginning of AI tools, because the sentiment is that the tools will be able to do all of this in 5 years' time easily. First of all, the tech will scale exponentially and improve itself, and all those properties will emerge magically. But let's evaluate the claim first. We need to understand conceptually what machine learning systems in general are good at. Large language models are machine learning models, and they are constructed with enormous amounts of data and compute power. Generally speaking, LLMs are stochastic parrots. That means all answers depend on probabilities and the quality of the training data. Basically, it is just statistics in the end. The sheer amount of data and compute necessary for this is so immense that we as humans have trouble to understand it intuitively. Anyways, this fact leads to the conclusion that these tools excel in high volume tasks. But, and this is a big one, these models struggle with new ideas and concepts. If the words they were trained on, or whatever they are trained on, is not represented in the training data, it cannot do it. It also means, since there is no real understanding of abstract concepts taking place here, this leads to the infamous hallucinations. There's no way to check if it's really true what it's saying. But there are other problems too. Since there's no abstract understanding, the models can be tricked pretty easily and also very predictably. One example for this are changed pixels on images that humans cannot perceive but throw off the models. Another example is a way to beat the well-known AlphaGo bot with a strategy that not even an amateur human Go player would lose to. And all those findings were deliberately constructed by researchers. They concluded beforehand that there's no real understanding in these models at all and tested many similar scenarios. But back to us developers and our jobs. High volume tasks for us are data structures, simple classes, generic utility functions, and boilerplate code in general. This will become much less tedious for us to write, and I am already doing this with Copilot in my day-to-day work. But as we figured out earlier, the actual selling point of our job is dealing with novelty, aka translating business problems into software and such. And looking at the underlying mechanisms of these AI tools, I again do not see any danger here. But maybe there will be enough venture capital money and smart people thrown at those problems to overcome them, especially with the hype ChatGPT and those tools produce nowadays. You also might say, I simply lack the imagination for the tools to improve in these ways, which is a totally fair argument. I can see that. But it still poses no threat to your developer job. Let me explain. Let us assume we overcome all these issues and reach human-level performance across all the tasks any developer can and should do at its job. That is by definition called an AGI, an artificial general intelligence, which leads me to my last and most scary reason why AI will never replace developer jobs. The point in time when we arrive at an AGI, we reach the so-called singularity, which means technological advancements can no longer be predicted by us humans, because the machines have taken control by then. According to most of the experts in AI safety research, we as humans will go extinct shortly after reaching AGI. I will not debate the reasons for it here, nor will I go into the arguments at all. Many much smarter people already talked at length about the topic and all arguments for or against it. I personally came to the conclusion that we will not be able to do much about it. And even if we could do something about it, I personally am not remotely smart enough to help solving the so-called control problem. My point is, if the tools are that good that they will be able to do my job, then I will be dead anyways. Dead people have no jobs. So the AI cannot take our jobs. Being not dead, aka not arriving at an AGI anytime soon, means your job is safe. It's not all hype though, since the efficiency boost is almost ridiculous actually. Copilot feels like IntelliSense should always have been from the start. So it might be a lack of imagination on my part, but considering the limitations of the models, the law of diminishing returns, the inertia in companies, and the regulation that will soon follow, I personally will bet on my job being there in the years to come. And you probably should too.